All right. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a lovely Wednesday. I just put a little poll in the chat to see how everyone's feeling about Book of Boba Fett, and it looks like it's kind of split between love it and I don't know yet. And you know what? That's kind of. I'm happy to see that. That's kind of exactly what I was expecting. Because, hi. It's time to talk about Book of Boba Fett. We are now on episode 4. So I gotta say, I am glad that I waited until episode 4 to start talking about this show, because if you had asked me last week how I feel about the show, I don't think I would have been so positive. I feel like episode 4 is when things kind of really started coming together. Some of the threads that they were laying out finally started to weave into something more sensical. But yeah, let's get into it. So yeah. When I say that I kind of expected a lot of people being split between love it and you don't know yet. I gotta say I agree, because while there are impressive elements of this show as a whole hasn't really done a lot to impress me yet. And so I'm kind of torn, because I'm still it's not unimpressive enough where I'll stop watching it, but a lot of things seem a little bit half-cooked. But speaking of the impressive elements, I gotta say, first and foremost, the visuals of this show are pretty bananas. They are fucking awesome. I gotta say, it seems like it's a very expensive project, if I'm being honest. Like the sets are crazy detailed, super expansive, like big, large sets. The costumes are great. I actually really, really love the use of all the different races and like monsters in this show. And it looks like a lot of it is actual like physical, like there's a lot of, makeup and building of things, building of sets, which is something I really appreciate, and something that I think feels really genuinely Star Wars to me. I love that Star Wars invests in kind of in the realism in it, instead of always just purely relying on CGI. When it relies too much on CGI, that's when I kind of lose it a little bit. But yeah, the makeup looks really, really good. But when you get to the meat and the potatoes of the show, right? Like the characters and the plot, the storylines are they're very unoriginal, very predictable. I don't think I've ever really been surprised in this show. But I think did I talk about this when I was talking about Spider-Man No Way Home? Because just because it's not an original storyline isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because like Spider-Man No Way Home, there were parts of it that were like very predictable and very kind of run of the mill. But when you have things like really strong performances and really good character arcs, that kind of makes up for it. If there's really good tension in the plot, then that makes up for an unoriginal storyline. Like, it doesn't have to blow my mind for it to be good. But unfortunately, I don't feel like because the ideas aren't bad. Like, I feel like the way I'm talking about this show, where I'm kind of like bouncing back and forth between things and seeming a little all over the place, is kind of how I feel about this show. My feelings about this show, I'm a little ambivalent. They are a little bit all over the place, but because the ideas aren't bad. Like, now that with episode 4, I'm finally kind of starting to like follow along with the storyline, but the execution of the storyline and the characters isn't great. And it's a show that is not it's not immediately impactful, if that makes sense. Like, when I'm watching the show, like the major plot points and the major character moments aren't immediately obvious, and it's not a visceral experience where I'm reacting and I'm just in it and I'm all about it. It's kind of something that when I muse about it later, or when I think of it in the grander scheme of things, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And also, spoiler alert, welcome to Daryn's channel. It's always a spoiler alert. I guess one of the examples I can give is no, yeah, I'll talk about that now, is with like Boba Fett and the Fennec storyline that just happened in this last episode, where, you know, if you guys recall, in The Mandalorian, there's like a mysterious man who finds her. Obviously now it's Boba Fett. And when I'm watching their interactions together, I was kind of like, what are they trying to say here? Like, what is the point of their relationship? Like, what are they trying to say about them as individual people, and what are they trying to say about them, their relationship, and what that does to each other? And it kind of felt a little dry when I was watching it, but then when I was thinking about it later, I was like, okay, you know, I feel like what it's trying to say is that, you know, Boba Fett is he is empathetic, but he's also tactful, makes tactical decisions. That's also tactful. Tact. No, I lost my train of thought. I could see, you know, like, just because he's empathetic and he helps someone out, like he's got, you know, bad guy with a heart of gold kind of vibe. Just because he helped this woman out doesn't mean he wasn't doing it for his own personal gain. He saw her, recognized her, knew what she was capable of. He needs bodies. He needs allies. He needs, you know, people. He needs to start building his team. And so he makes a lot of tactical gambles, takes a lot of tactical chances. And he took a gamble on her, hoping that he could, you know, win her loyalty at the end, which is all part of, you know, him as a character, how his mind works. So I got it later. Like, it wasn't something that was immediately obvious to me by their performances. So yeah, it's kind of, because the show it's a slow burn. Like, and when the fact that I wasn't really super into it in the beginning is just kind of indicative of the kind of storytelling that it's trying to do, which is kind of similar to what they were doing with The Mandalorian. Like, that show is also a slow burn. It's also kind of the style of the Western style storytelling, which I've mentioned before. Hold on, let me exit it. Sorry. But like, so let's get back to the show itself. So start kind of talking about it in a more sensical way. There are a few key plot points in this show. I wrote them down. Blah, 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 blah. Just trying to see if I missed something. You guys know me. When I'm reading, it's hard for me to read my notes and stay focused. There's like a few major plot points in the show. You got Boba's ascent to Daimyo and the politics of taking over Tatooine. You've got his backstory of being captured and then becoming a part of the Tusken Raiders. You got these rebellious droid teens and the whole building of a crew, and then his flashbacks and all that stuff that's happening in the Back to Healing take. Unfortunately, though, none of these storylines has me really hooked yet, meaning like I'm not really dying to know what happens or really affected by what's going on within those storylines. I don't think the show is doing a really good job of balancing all these different storylines in a meaningful way. It's also, you know, I always think about this too, when you come off a show and then it affects your perception of the next show that you're watching. So I just came off of Arcane, which we talked about last week, did a wonderful job of balancing all these different complex storylines and character arcs and how those all played into the bigger narrative. This show is struggling to do that. Like, it just feels a little bit disjointed right now. Like, it just kind of is hopping from place to place, but there's no tension, like I mentioned. So there's no tension that's like making you invest in this storyline. The biggest investment you have is in the legacy of the Boba Fett character. And, you know, they're really trying to flesh him out, make him this Robin Hood type of character, someone who's got a lot of trauma and is trying to deal with it. But yeah, I just feel like they could have gotten a lot more points across, or a lot more impactful moments across in less time, with stronger writing and stronger performances, but it also seems like they are relying on the visual storytelling medium of it all, because there is a huge investment in the visuals of this show. And that's also, I want some water, my throat's a little irritated. That's also a valid type of storytelling. So when you think of like visual storytelling, right, you think of, the first person who comes to mind is always going to be Denis Villeneuve. He just did the recent Dune movie. He just did the recent Dune movie, and he also did Blade Runner 2049. He has a very noir style kind of directing. Noir, if you didn't know, is that kind of style. It's a lot of, long, slow moments, pans on the environment, using the setting itself to set the tone, and it's like a character itself in the story. Like, you use the setting to bring across an emotional, why can't I form a sentence? To also bring emotion to the story. So that's what it feels like this show is trying to do, because the visuals in the show are crazy and they're very, very beautiful. They have a very artistic vibe to them. But I think the problem with this show is, so when you're going to do a visual style of storytelling, you still have to have a really compelling plot and compelling characters for them to live in this big visual medium, right? Because then you need these visual aspects and these settings to say something about what's happening, and you need it to feel more intense because of the place they're in. You think about like Dune, when you see like the immensity of these like huge structures that are meant to like make the characters feel small in this space, or Blade Runner 2049, when you have like his like the chaotic moments of all these like advertisements in their face, and this like underground seedy, not underground, but like a seedy bar, and all these things that are like just show the chaos and the frivolity of everything, and they just further make you realize just how isolated and alone the main character is as he's walking through this environment. So it's stuff like that. That's the stuff that's supposed to come across in the visual storytelling, but I just don't I don't feel like that's coming across as strongly in the book of Boba Fett. Like they're very beautiful, don't get me wrong. Like it's very beautiful, but I don't always know what it's trying to say. If I think really, really hard and I go back and I really mull it over, then yeah, I can maybe try to figure out what they want to say, but without a compelling enough character and a plot, a lot of the long, big settings just kind of make it feel a little bit slow. And I think this show is just struggling in general with the fact that like it doesn't really know what it's trying to say, or what it is trying to say isn't exciting enough. I don't know. Like it's not strongly saying anything, but it's kind of saying a lot of stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't know. I think, and kind of in connection to this, when I say like the performances and the characters aren't strong enough, I want a lot more from the performances in this show. Sorry to be a hater, but I just feel like I haven't really seen a very strong performance or standout performance yet in this show, which is a shame. And I also can, guess or assume that there is an intentional stoicism and cold curtness to the way that they handle themselves, because they're bounty hunters, they're people who live on the fringe of society, they're meant to be cold and stoic and reserved and straight to the point and whatever. But when the whole show is that people like that, and they're okay, wait. Yes, that could be an intentional choice of the character, but then I'm thinking of characters like from Game of Thrones, like Stannis Baratheon and Roose Bolton, those are intentionally stoic and cold characters, but they're intense. Like, they are laser sharp with their performances, and you, even though it's just like very abrupt style of speaking, and especially with Stannis where he's a little bit more quiet, it's still intense. There's still an intensity, there's still a feeling that you're getting from him that's coming across. And I'm not really getting a lot of that from the performances in this show. There's not even like a standout character. Like, sometimes there's always like a fun side character that just has like a few cool scenes where they do something where you're like, whoa, like I haven't really got that from anything else. And there's also the limitation of trying to act real hard through facial makeup. No, I'm changing my opinion on that again too. I'm changing my opinions a lot in this stream, like as I'm saying these words. But because I was actually really impressed. Speaking of how much I like the costume makeup and stuff, Chrysanthemum, the black Wookiee with the white streaks, I was actually really impressed with the ability to convey facial expressions through all that in the scenes when him and Boba were just talking. So it's possible. And if you're going to have that limitation where there's a lot of makeup, I think what could make up for it is just like better writing and better interactions in general. But that's not happening. And then as in regards to Fennec, I think I just want more from her, because she is, she's apparently like the other main character of the show, right? And there's a lot that's, banking it. Here I go, changing my opinion again. They're smart to focus on Boba because that's why people tuned in. And at the end of the day, that's what's bringing in the big buku bucks, is everyone wants to know more about Boba, see more about Boba. But I have a hard time connecting to Fennec or kind of like giving a fuck about her when they don't really give us much about her. Oh, my burp just came out like mid-word. Super sick. Because I guess, I think that's something that would also add to give a more dynamic nature to this show, is show the dynamics of their relationship and how they interact with one another. But they're always just kind of these one-liners that don't really do much for either of them. And yeah, like I said earlier, I just don't really know what they're trying to say about their relationship other than what's happened, because I feel like in the last episode, so that's why I like the last episode more, because then you kind of got a better idea of it, right? You're like, okay, Boba's been planning since, this is him all making his plans. This is how he, maneuvers his way through his circumstance and the society in front of him by making all these choices that show, who he is as a character. And then you have Fennec, who's also just another assassin on the fringes of society. Looks like she's her interest has been picked by someone who understands her, but then also can provide some kind of benefit for her and also still give her the exciting life that she needs. But, I don't know. Like I said earlier, like there's just like with all the storylines, there's just not really anything that's super hooked me yet, because let's go back to those storylines for a sec and think about it, right? You have Boba's ascent to the daimyo and the politics of taking over Tatooine. So yeah, because it seems very predictable. It's like, this whole teaming up with the families, and you have the other Hutts coming in, and then you have like corruption at play. None of it, there's not a lot of intrigue there. And while it felt like they're kind of like trying to do like an almost like Game of Thronesy kind of vibe, where they're, have their hands in all these different pots and there's all these different things going on. I don't know if it's yeah, it's just not intriguing. And like, I'm not really dying to know what happens because I feel like I can already know what's going to happen. Also, and then we're talking about like speaking of being redundant, like his backstory and being captured by the Tusken Raiders. That also feels very, redundant of the whole like white savior storyline. He just isn't white, but it's still like got all the elements of the white savior storyline and like the elements of that are. Oh, actually, no. For this entire show, the similarities to Dune are very. It's a lot. There's a lot of similarities. So that also takes away some of the exciting nature of it. Like, yeah, there was like no part of the Tusken Raiders that I was like super, super invested in. It was just a very, basic storyline of technology coming into a new world and fucking over the indigenous people. Like, it's a story that's been done a million times before, and even though it's a sad story, yeah, nothing new. And then you have the rebellious angsty teens, the droid teens. I don't know how I feel about them, dude. That opening scene with them was pretty cringe. And it felt like that was where I just felt how kind of there's a lot of parts where I feel like the writing is kind of lazy, but that was one part where I definitely felt like the writing was like really lazy, because then that dude comes out and he's like, "What? You're just gonna let them go?" And I was like, "What? Is this a stage play? Like, why is everyone just here?" And like, I don't know. And then they were saying super on the nose topical things like, "You don't know what you're talking about. Nobody understands us. Nobody wants us. The world is fucked up." I also just like don't like their bikes. I feel like the bikes do not fit in aesthetically at all. And I guess they're not supposed to be fit in aesthetically. They're supposed to stand out. I don't like it. Yeah, I know. The angsty teens they're not it for me, which also reminds me another thing that's like not really hitting for me is the fight choreography has been mostly pretty basic. There have been some really cool scenes, like the train scene was pretty dope, and then this last episode where he was when he was in Slave One, he's like shooting down the gang on the speeders. That was pretty cool. I liked those parts, but then they bring in Chrysanthemum in, and then he like fights these droid teens, and it was so whack. Like, I wanted some brutality. I wanted one of them to die or get their arm ripped off or something, but he basically was just like grabbing everyone and throwing them against the wall, and someone else would get up and he'd throw them against the wall. Like, it was, I don't know. It was super basic for someone that I was like kind of excited to see in action. And then that was a little underwhelming. And then, of course, with his Tusken weapon when he's swinging it around, those scenes are kind of just okay. Well, but just okay. Nothing to scream about. Yeah. And just, this is not to say, like, I actually like this idea of the droid mods. I think that's actually super interesting. I just don't like these teens. I don't really get it. But let's see, what else did I miss? Looking at my notes real quick. Like always, there's always parts of my notes that just like make me laugh. Like, it just says music good. The music is dope. I do really like the music. Ludwig Göransson, the same guy who did The Mandalorian, also did Book of Boba Fett, and I just think he has a genius kind of ear, and he's able to mix in influences while also when I think I made a YouTube video about The Mandalorian, and I just like totally geeked out over Ludwig Göransson, because The Mandalorian theme music is probably I listen to it like as a song constantly. Like, I actually love that song, and he kept the kind of like techno futuristic space feel, but he also brought in these classical Japanese instruments, like there's like the wood flutes, and so that gives it that kind of samurai feel mixed in with the future. It's fucking excellent. I can't praise it enough. And he did that again with the Book of Boba Fett, giving it that kind of like tribal excitement to the track, but also still feeling very much like a Star Wars song. I don't know how he does it. I hope they give this guy $1 million so he does the music for Star Wars forever, because I fucking love it. I also wrote Max Rebo. I want to be him. It just makes me, if you guys don't know, Max Rebo is just like one of the guys who plays the instruments in Mos Eisley, and he was in Jabba's little thing. I forget what it's. He's on Jabba's craft, and then he's also in that bar with the Twi'lek lady, the sexy one who's like running the bar. He's just always vibing. I was like, what a great job to be in that world. Just a bunch of criminals and lowlifes, but just like your music is so dope and you bring such a good vibe. They just keep bringing you back, and you just get to like mind your own business and like vibe out and be like, like it just makes me smile. Love to see him. Let's see if I missed anything else. Because that's honestly all I have to really say about it right now. I am glad that I waited till episode 4 to talk about it, because it gave me a little bit more to think in terms of this show. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. A little bit of a shorter stream today. But yeah, now I'll go back in the chat. I actually want to hear your opinions on it, because sometimes, especially when I talk about Star Wars, this is like on my YouTube, I feel like, YouTube comments are always going to be whatever they are. But I felt like with the type of videos I made, I'd always get, very thoughtful comments that are like, oh, have you ever thought about this? I think this. I don't agree with you because of this. And then on Star Wars videos, sometimes I just get like, shut up, you stupid fucking bitch. You don't know fucking anything about Star Wars. Fuck you. I'm like, damn, Star Wars fans, are probably the most intense. So sometimes when I feel like I have these like thoughtful opinions on Star Wars, everyone's like, no, incorrect, always awesome, how dare you, fuck you. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, because we all partake in the communal nostalgia juice when it comes to Star Wars. So let's go up and back a little bit and look at our super chats here. So we have one from Pitland44, $5. Thank you very much, sir. Hey Daryn, great to see you, or read you. Wink. That was a weird wink. Here's a question. Has anybody really been truly about Disney Star Wars other than The Mandalorian? I am going to say no. And I was actually, that's so weird that you say that, thinking about that in the shower yesterday. So I had a really good talk with my friend Nikki yesterday, because I just have been thinking a lot about what I want to do in terms of content and all the stuff this year. And I'm trying to write out a new business plan to really put all this stuff into motion. And with that comes some creative ideas I have. And every once in a while I get a little bit of creative inspiration. And I was just thinking about Star Wars. I was also thinking about Book of Boba. And just like in terms of like a future video I'd want to make is just, man, like, what the fuck is going on with Star Wars? Like, I want to, so when I write my YouTube videos, it takes research a lot too, because while I know, the easy answers to everything, I really want to like mine and like do some real research into figuring out like why they can't get their shit together, because they have all the resources and every opportunity to do so, but they just have not been hitting. And when you look at franchises like Marvel that are like under the same umbrella, it just what Marvel has done, even with Marvel with shows that haven't done as well, they still are consistently putting stuff out, consistently trying out new things, and Star Wars just isn't doing that. And I know a lot of that has to do with like Kathleen Kennedy, and everyone like loves Dave Filoni. I think he's like the most adorable little cutie on this planet, but then like even some of the projects he's helmed haven't like hit as hard. So yeah, dude, I have a lot to think about. I've been thinking about that a lot, because it's all there. They just fucking won't. It's just like Disney really has really fucked with Star Wars, man. For real. Because the last time I was really, really moved, like really moved by a Star Wars project was Rogue One. Rogue One is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. Not even just like Star Wars or sci-fi, superhero, this whole realm. Like Rogue One is one of my favorite movies of all time. I fucking love that movie. But I haven't really been like really touched by anything since then. It's kind of a bummer. I want more, damn it. I got my Star Wars short on. I got my mouse pad for my outfit. My work computer is a dead. Like, come on. I buy, and that's the problem. Maybe the problem is I just realized because we buy all the merch. We buy the merch and we keep them in business. They don't have to do anything. They just have to make Star Wars themed stuff, and we'll fucking buy it because I'm one of those simps who does that. All right, Ron C. Hello again. $4.99. What's up? It says, hello. For starters, Book of Boba scenes are long for short episodes. Most likely Disney chopped it up for comeback viewing. Sorry, I read that super weird. Hello, for starters, Book of Boba scenes are long for short episodes. Most likely Disney chopped it up for comeback viewing. Oh, like you feel like the episodes themselves should be really long, but they just, yeah, I could totally see that because... Again, coming back to Denis Villeneuve. Hold on. Another burp. 2 burps. That was a bigger one. Denis Villeneuve movies are fucking long. Like, they're fucking long. Because when you're going to spend a lot of time doing those, like, shots and the shot, like... It's going to take up time. You can't speed through that if that's what you're trying to do. And yeah, I could totally see that they're just trying to get up the view count, you know, get more people back every single week instead of having people come back for 4 weeks, they have them come back for 7 weeks. Because, yeah, I feel like maybe if they were more complete, longer, more like a movie and they could get more done in one episode. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's just a slow show. I can't watch that show when I'm on the treadmill. That's for damn sure. Because I'm just like, okay, it's a little. I can just hear myself breathing hard. All right, Striker X24 always says supportive. Thank you, sir. Episode 3, when Boba Fett was in a fight and pulled a knife from his gun, I started to scream. Why does no one have a gun? And why is no one shooting why is no one shooting each other? Yeah. Yeah, you know, the fight choreography choices have been interesting in this show, to say the least. I also, Tamara, I don't want to mispronounce his name. I can't remember his last name right now. Let's look it up so I don't butcher it. Tamara Morrison, that's what it was. He's older, you know? Talked about this a little when I was talking about Matrix Resurrections. Like, Keanu hits real hard with those action scenes and he's fantastic, but he's older. What can you do? He's not going to do that, like, first movie Neo where it's like, top, he's stopping. Like, I feel like Tamara Morrison is kind of the same thing. He's in great shape, but he's just an older dude, so there's probably a little bit of a limit to what they can do. I honestly, though, again, haven't been super impressed with a lot of the fight choreography in general with these Star Wars TV shows. Like, I think Josh and I argued about this on Den of Nerds in the Ahsoka episode. Oh my god, of Mandalorian. Whoa. And it just seemed like, why can't I remember anyone's name right now? I'm pretty sleepy. You don't know this under this makeup, but I got major bags under my eyes. Oh my god, I'm so obsessed with her, but I'm totally blanking on her name. The chick who plays Ahsoka. She could have definitely used a little bit more fight training. Like, a lot of it just seems really slow and very... But I'm torn on this opinion again, because I wish these people would spend more time in fight training. And I was about to say, but then it's a TV show. I'm like, but they have all the time in the world. They have all the time, like, and they have all the money in the world to make. I don't know. Could they speed up this? I don't know what the issue is, but I haven't been super impressed with it. But and then now I'm just going to read a couple few. I'm mixing up a lot of words today. I'll read a couple more things in the chat, and then I am going to call it short stream today. But I love you guys for coming in anyway. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like, based on your comments, a lot of you feel the same way. Where you're like, it's good. It's great. I don't know, like maybe. Oh, yes. Okay, that's it. I think I'm gonna be done today. Although Jedi Mike, you did loop me in back. Okay. Ooh, should I end this episode or should I talk about Moon Knight a little bit? Because if you guys didn't see the Moon Knight trailer, oh man, oh man. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I like, I always like to say I don't like to get too excited for things based on trailers because I don't like to get my hopes up and then get disappointed. And, the Marvel shows, while some have been good, they've kind of been all over the place and I'm not really sure how to think of them. But Elgrim, I think you said it on Instagram, like, watch this immediately. And I was just like, holy shit, this show looks fucking dope. Fucking dope. I am so excited for Moon Knight. I think just based on the trailer alone, and I hope that this is going to be true, because I think one of the biggest problems with the Marvel TV shows is that they haven't gone there. Like, they won't commit to just going there and going really, really hard. Like, they always kind of WandaVision was like, we're gonna get kind of weird, but they didn't get like fully fucking weird, And then with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they were talking about really interesting cultural topics. They're talking about race, but you're just like, go hard, like really go into it. Just wants to like kind of bring it up, like really fucking break that shit open and like be real about it. And then, well, Loki went pretty hard. And what was the most recent one? Hawkeye. Yeah, Hawkeye was trying to do the man on the ground, relatable show, but they just didn't go there. They won't go there. And it seems like Moon Knight is going to go there. I said go there 15 times in the last couple of minutes. Because Moon Knight's fucking crazy, you guys. This dude's a fucking weirdo. He wears a white suit so people can see him coming. Like, that's his whole thing. He's got, multiple personality disorder. He wears white so people can see him because he wants people to know that he's going to come beat the shit out of them and kill them because he's a real weirdo. And you can't, there's always the worry that they're going to take something dark and layered as that and then do like the Disney-fied version of it. But I'm really hoping we're gonna get some Netflix Marvel type vibes on this one, and they really fucking send it, and they go back to those roots, because now it seems hopefully they're all collaborating, they're all on the same roof, and God bless Daddy Oscar Isaac. He is that bitch. Oh my God. Like, I love him so much. Number one simp for Oscar Isaac. He's so good. I'm so excited for him in this role. I'm so excited for this show. Just, yes. Everything to, yes. Oh, we got one more super chat coming in at the end. Dr. Random, hello. One of the OGs as well. When this show was first announced, I misread the title as Book of Boba Fett and thought it was going to be Book of Booba Fett. And thought it was going to be a completely different show. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Does that mean like you thought you were on Pornhub, but you were actually on Disney Plus, and you're like, oh no, I got my tabs mixed up. Anyways. Yeah. All right, Justin, don't break my heart. Talking about the whole like Netflix Netflix, Disney, Marvel shows. He said they're making it look that way, but I doubt it, unfortunately. You're right. Maybe I'm getting a little too excited too soon, because this is why I don't like to get excited. This is why I don't like to get excited, because I think it's going to be Netflix Marvel and then it's going to end up being Disney Marvel. I'm going to try, but it's so hard not to when you see Oscar Isaac doing his thing. Like, he's just so good. He's so good. I have high hopes. This is the one. This is going to be the one, you guys. The one that Daryn loses her shit over. All right. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you endlessly. I'll be back next Wednesday to talk about... I'm not sure yet, but I'll be back next Wednesday. And I love you. And have a good rest of your week. All right. Goodbye.